Welcome to Future Ready Freight. This is Joe Corniuk, Mariner's Chief Technology Officer. I'm joined today by Scott Fleener, our Mariner's Chief Supply Chain Officer. We're here to talk about the selection of a warehouse management system and our warehousing solutions here at Mariner. Scott, before we get started, why don't you give a little background on yourself and how you got to Mariner?
Sure. So I started my career in supply chain management with Apple Computer a long time ago. And I was there for about 8 or 9 years, and then went to a 3PL for a little while, a few years, and then went to a telecom for about 13 years and had end-to-end supply chain responsibility there. Left there and was with a startup company in Boulder, a data storage company, and but I was brought there to build their global supply chain for them. Was there for a few years, and there was an acquisition, and after that acquisition had an opportunity to do a similar role in Southeast Asia. So I went to Southeast Asia for 2 or 3 years. Knew that I wanted to come back to the U.S. I didn't want to, although it was a great adventure, didn't want to be there too long, and so I wanted to come back to the U.S. and got an opportunity. Got introduced to some of the Mariner leadership, and got the opportunity to come back here and really from scratch build the warehousing offering for Mariner in our 3PL portfolio. So yeah.
So before we get started, how would you describe a WMS?
It's a critical tool. The WMS, Warehouse Management System, is just that. It's a critical tool to ensure efficient operations and execution within the warehouse, but it's really critically key to inventory management. And inventory management's a big thing in my book, but if you think about inventory and somebody's, if we have a customer and we're managing their inventory, we're managing a lot of money. Inventory is money, right? So we're managing that for them, be it raw materials going into a manufacturing facility, be it finished goods products that they're turning into revenue. Again, inventory is very valuable. And so it's a critical tool and critical piece to overall warehouse solutions. Yeah.
And here just recently we selected a new WMS.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And so describe a little bit about that process. What was important?
Yeah, it's an interesting process. I mean, of course, you're getting sold all these wonderful solutions, but some of the key things to look for is, as I mentioned earlier, we are integrating with a lot of customers. So, can we integrate to their ERP systems, easily? And so they, understanding how a WMS can do that, and it's critically important to make sure that we're managing the flow of information, be it order receipts and that information going back to the customers, receiving orders, confirming orders going back to their ERP system, these types of things. So it's very important that we have ease of integration to ERP systems, but ease of use, for the warehouse management team, right? The team that's working in the warehouse executing the WMS. Is it ease of use? Are there lots of checks and balances that you can put into the execution of the WMS to ensure integrity and accuracy and these types of things? But one of the other key things being a 3PL, because we manage so many different types of business, be it e-com, B2B, B2C, we manage so many different types of business, we need it to be very configurable and flexible and dynamic. And we don't want to always have to get into the code and customization and these types of things to use our system. So being able to configure the system to support the customer's needs is very important.
There is no such thing as one shoe fits everybody.
No, there's not. But there's really some good offerings out there, and I think we made a good selection.
How would you describe the difference between a warehouse management system and a warehouse management solution?
It's a piece of it. So the WMS is a piece of that solution, and as I mentioned earlier, it's a critical piece. But it's a piece of the solution. I mean, you can have a great tool and, bad processes, suboptimal use of the tool, and this type of things. But it is a critical piece. I think the key thing I would tell you that here at Mariner, what we do is we really sell the point that, we don't make a product. We sell one thing, and that's service. And we sell, you're buying our service. And so for us to understand that you've selected us, integrated us into your supply chain to do order fulfillment, warehouse management, these types of things, we take that very seriously, because that's all we do is sell that service. And a WMS helps us do that in managing the inventory. for customers.
Yep. If you look at what's critical and valuable to the customer in the solution.
I think one of the key things is visibility and understanding of how information flows, but also visibility to their inventory. There's times where we actually become the inventory system of record for our customers because we actually physically have the inventory here, or we integrate to their ERP, but the information comes from our WMS, so they may identify the ERP inventory records as their inventory record, but that information is fed from our WMS.
Now that we've talked about what a WMS is and what a warehousing solution is, talk to us a little bit about that configuration and flexibility and the importance of it for our customers.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we get a lot of customers that are simply looking for FIFO, first in, first out inventory management. So we're able to collect by receipt dates of when the material came in, by SKU or part number, and manage that FIFO management for them for first in, first out. We have quite a bit of, done a lot of business with different beverage companies. They're looking for FIFO, first expiration, first out. So regardless of when the material may have come in, we can configure our WMS to support FIFO and ensure that we're taking the first expiration date or the soonest expiration date, shipping that first for the customer and getting that into the supply chain for them on the retail side of the business. We have some customers that have requirements for us to collect serial numbers of their products. And so we are able to configure that functionality into either the receiving and or the shipping process to make sure that we are collecting those serial numbers and they can track those for a lot of times for warranty reasons, but also for other reasons. But one of the other ones is lot control. We can configure our WMS to manage lot control. If we were to get some information that a customer needed a certain lot to go on hold for some reason, we can put that lot on hold. So again, the configurability of the system gives us the ability to manage to the customer's needs as it relates to their business.
So we talked about how you got to Mariner and that process. Talk to us about the journey you've been on since you've been at Mariner.
I'll tell you, this is the highlight of my career. I've enjoyed this more than anything, but it's not been with a few scary moments So when I took this opportunity, again, Mariner did not have this offering in their 3PL services, warehousing, inventory management. So I got here in April of 2019, and we had a 110,000 square foot facility, and me and a set of keys and a nice pat on the back and good luck. And not all exactly. I had all the support in the world from leadership. Within 2 or 3 months, we actually had the 110,000 square feet fully operating, at full capacity, and we were off and running, and integrated a WMS, and next thing you know, we got another 350,000 square feet down in South Dallas area. A couple of years ago, last year, we opened another 300,000 square feet in Fort Worth. We are at 100% capacity, and all those operations were multi-channel, e-com, B2B. I mean, we're all across the board. We've got, automotive, we've got beverage, we've got industrial, we've got a pretty good variety of customers that we're supporting. And so I think the key thing, and the key to our growth, the WMS and having that ability was critical, but I really believe the key thing was just relationships. We're able to build good relationships with our customers, productive relationships. We're good listeners. We listen to our customers really well, and so I think that's really been key. Even when we get prospective new customer opportunities, that's one of the things that we talk about, and I think we're able to demonstrate that even through references and that kind of thing. But we're really about providing a quality service, and the WMS is a critical tool to that. But also is developing good relationships with our customers.
I want to appreciate the fact you were here, but I'm really not. Well, you drugged me into this.
All right.
You drugged me into this mess in May of 2019.
I did. We ought to talk about that, though. Yeah. So Joe and I worked at Apple for about 8 years or so together, and then right after we both left, I went to one 3PL. He went to another 3PL, and he went to a 3PL, and things weren't working out so well. So I said, hey, why don't you come over to the 3PL I went to? So he did. And so we were there together. I left that 3PL because I got an opportunity with the telecom that I mentioned, but Joe stayed with them quite a bit longer than I was there. But we always stayed in contact. There was even a time when I was at the telecom, Joe came out and interviewed at the telecom that I was at, but he chose not to come to the telecom. And we've just stayed in contact over the years. And then when I got here, I talked to the leadership and said, you guys need to bring Joe Corniuk in and talk to him about. So Joe consulted here for about a year or so, and then we brought him on board.
Yeah, so I owe it all to him.
So it's my fault he's here in a way.
Describe the journeys of some of the journeys of our customers and why they selected us.
Well, Joe was very involved in like Vox. I mean, we courted Vox for a year.
Yeah.
And part of that was because, they kind of slowed things down a little bit on their side, but, but it was through, I mean, they provided an RFP for us to respond to, but then it was through that. I mean, there's stages, right? You may receive an RFP and you respond to the RFP. If you're selected for the next stage, that's when you get more face time, and you get more Q&A time, with the customer. And that Q&A is from both sides, right? They're Q&A in us and we're Q&A in them. And so you kind of go through that process.
So we've talked about relationships, and we've got customers like Goat Fuel and Trojan Tracks, and talk about some of the steps they went through in selecting us.
Yeah, it's some of them are very different. The Trojan Tracks was in our early days, October 2019. We started doing business with Trojan Tracks. They had a very challenging situation in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where they were using a warehouse and that warehouse was going out of business. And so I literally got a call on a Wednesday, had freight being delivered to us on a Thursday, and I was still in the process of working on a contract with them. But I think, back to the relationship part of that though, I mean, even having those initial conversations on that Wednesday, they had the confidence of the fact that we could manage their business for them. And so we were able to bring on their business, did get the contract in place very quickly. But, we had to develop that relationship, and we had to, introduce them to the people that are in our trenches, to work with the people that are in their trenches, and form those relationships and integrate the tools like a WMS and put those things in place. But we're able to do that, and we're not only still doing business with Trojan Tracks, we're their largest fulfillment provider in the United States. Some of the other customers, you mentioned Goat Fuel. We have others. It may have started off with an RFP process. So we get an RFP, we fill out the information, we send the information back. There's very little human interactions going on at that time during the RFP. You go to the next stage, you get into the Q&A process, and then you really start to learn more about each other and what their capabilities are and who the people are and behind the business. One of the key things I like to do as soon as possible is introduce potential customers to our warehouse management teams, the people that are leading our warehouses and these types of things. We're very fortunate. We've got great people, and they understand what we're doing and what we're providing for our customers. And so that's a key piece of getting through the process of being selected is for them to meet our people.
You've not only had very experienced companies, older companies have been around a while, grown, but you've also done business with startups. How do you describe the difference?
It's interesting. I mean, I would even say, to a certain extent, Goat Fuel was a startup, and so you help them. What's cool about that is, though, with the startup is you get to integrate with them, and being an old fart, if I can say that, I get to integrate myself and my ideas and my experience with them and collaborate with them on optimal solutions for them. And I think they enjoy that process, but they know that it's coming from the perspective that we're really, part of their team. We're Mariner, but, we're part of Goat Fuel. We're Mariner, but, we're part of Trojan Tracks. We've been inserted into their supply chain. And I think it's part of our responsibility. It's more than just, selling warehousing services or transportation services, or, it's really integrating into their supply chains and collaborating with them on optimal solutions. Yeah.
Being a true partner.
It is. It's about partnership.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Future Ready Freight.